what's up, everybody? You're locked into another episode of the Fins Faithful Podcast, and today we got an absolute banger for you guys. NFL draft expert Justin Melo from the Draft Network is in the building, and he's dropping exclusively his early top 25 draft prospects for this upcoming draft. And trust me, there's some names on this list Dolphin fans are going to love. We're going to break it all down. How strong is this class? What's his strengths? What's his weaknesses? You know, some risers and maybe some names the Miami Dolphins should be watching now as the call of the season is rolling around. We'll dive into the quarterback class, where Justin ranks him, how he views the quarterback talent overall, and kind of who might be a legitimate fit for the Dolphins if they decide to go quarterback. You know, they got some future stars, some sleepers, some perfect Dolphin matches, but Justin's going to be bringing you the insight here you won't find anywhere else, and you don't want to miss this one. So let's just get into it. Pull up a seat here. Justin Melo joining us. I think this is your second or third time on the show, Justin. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining on this lunchtime special.
No, doing well. Appreciate you for having me, George. We're in the nitty-gritty, you know, college football and the NFL season, both of them kind of getting down to the wire here. What I love about that is the process is starting to play itself out a little bit, right? Both from, you know, a prospect perspective and NFL teams. You know, the NFL draft order is getting a bit more clear on a weekly basis. I think certain prospects are separating themselves from others, you know, the contenders from the pretenders, if you will, and things of that nature. So every single week is an opportunity to learn something new about how this NFL draft class is setting up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we're going to get into your top 25 here. The lists are starting to drop now, but quick question before we get into that. What do you consider this draft overall early on here? The kind of is it weak, average, above average, good draft? What do you see it this year overall?
I think I'd go rather average. You know, I don't think the high-end talent is quite as strong as it was maybe last year. I do think everyone would agree it's going to be a better quarterback class, so that always adds intrigue. That's the way it's trending right now. I think there are certainly some positions that I look at the defensive line talent. You'll see in my top 25, there's quite a few of them, and there's a bunch sprinkled throughout the top 10 and really all throughout the top 25. So I'm liking the way it's setting up from a D-line perspective. I think there's, you know, what makes it a little bit strange, if you will, when the top end of this class is there are two players that are outstanding that don't play premium positions, right? You've got an excellent safety and you've got an excellent running back. So that's going to throw a wrench. You know, the prospect rankings aren't exactly going to match up with how these guys actually get drafted, right? Because that conversation, we're probably going to be having it from January to April. Where do you draft a Caleb Downs or where do you draft a Jeremiah Love? So, but I think the D-line talent, getting back to that, is high end. I think the quarterback class is better probably than it was last year, certainly from a depth perspective. I think the tight ends, I think it's a sneaky good tight end class. A couple of guys who, of course, are not on this top 25, but I really like in the second and third rounds. Where I look to where it's weak, you know, I don't feel great about the cornerbacks. I think the running back class in general has one high-end guy and then a ton of question marks after that. I like this you didn't ask me to go position by position, but I like this wide receiver class. I think there's some good names sprinkled throughout. But to get back to the initial question, I think it's probably an average class, but make no mistake, there's some talent.
Yeah, you mentioned wide receiver, and we'll get into the list. I noticed you have, I think, 6 wide receivers on that list. But I want to make a point before we get into it is, yeah, it's a little early, but usually these are the right lists. Things don't change dramatically. You know what I mean? Like they don't.
Right.
Some players will slide, but there's not a 5th to 2nd round jump that happens. It's a small slide usually. I mean, there'll be a couple exceptions, but usually your eyes speak, and these lists are, you know, they're not final lists. They're not, you know, they're not written in stone. But to the point is, they're not totally off. And sometimes these are the better lists because you overthink things as you get closer to the draft, right, Justin?
Right, yeah, no doubt about it. And look, I'll be honest, like I'm submitting this top 25. Of course, they're going to be I'm finalizing. I hate to use the word finalizing because the process is going to be ongoing till April. We're going to get the All-Star draft circuits coming up. We'll have the NFL Combine in about 4 months. But two names that I don't have on this list yet that will be in my top 25, I guess a bit of or almost certainly will be in my top 25. Cassius Howell, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M. I'm a big fan of his athleticism, the speed, the bend that he brings to the table. I actually just had a phenomenal conversation with Cassius Howell last week. I'm excited to publish that interview, hopefully here in the next coming weeks. I'm putting the touches on it still. And Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State. I haven't quite fit him into this top 25 yet, but he'll be there too. So you can, as you look at this list, 24 and 25 are not going to be in the next version that I release, but we're still working through the process here.
We wanted to get the list on here, early drop, exclusively to us in this early drop. We appreciate it, and let's get into our list, guys. Make sure you guys are hitting that little thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, help support the channel. We appreciate. We got Justin Melo dropping his top 25 list, early one. Justin, let's go ahead and take a look at it and go through it. How do you say? What do you say here? All right. So we start at the top here. Reese is interesting to me. You have him listed as an edge. Again, you talked about Downs and Love. It's how you look at Reese. I mean, he's a tremendously instinctive with physical traits. I mean, a phenomenal athlete at that position. You have him at number one. Do you see him as an edge rusher? Or where do you see his home? Will, Mike, or he could do a lot of different things for you?
I do think he's going to be a full-time edge rusher. When I watch the tape, it's too important of a position when you compare it to linebacker. I mean, you're talking about one of the most important positions on a football field versus one of the least premium positions on a football field, at least the way the GMs attack it, right? So three positions could go number one overall. This was an old saying said to me a long time ago, and I believe it to be true today. It's quarterback, it's the guy who protects the quarterback, and it's the guy who hits the quarterback, right? So when I look at Arvell Reese's game, he's just too instinctual, too athletic on those edge rushing reps to be anything else. And let's be honest with you, what's going to help the narrative a lot is the successful transition that Micah Parsons and Abdul Carter have made in recent years. Those guys kind of started out playing off-ball position and made transitions. And I see the same thing in Reese's future. When you watch the reps where he's allowed to rush the passer, he's athletic. Most impressive to me, he's incredibly violent and physical. And the play strength for the size right now, when he gets into an NFL strength and conditioning program, and he's going to bulk up as he prepares, as I project that he'll prepare to play edge rusher on a full-time basis, and he starts getting more of those reps, I'd be stunned if he was anything else than an edge rusher at the next level. And that's why I have him at number one. If I thought he was a linebacker, I'm not going to have him at number one, right? It's just not going to happen. So for me, I'm taking the leap of faith here that this guy is going to make a very successful transition to edge rusher on a full-time basis.
Yeah, and he's got the height, the weight at 6'4", 243. It's a combination of bend, power, violence, like you said, it's rare in the speed. I agree. This guy's all pro potential. A guy kind of like a better version and a taller version of the guy who went last year, Jalen Walker. A better version of that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And look at and Walker's made a great transition there in Atlanta. It's been seamless for him. So we're starting to see this every year, and you're starting to see what more than one guy, right? I mean, Abdul Carter and Jalen Walker in the same class. So for me, I don't really have any reservations about Reese following a similar path.
Yeah, I agree with you. Obviously you have a pair of Ohio State guys. We talked about Downs, but Jeremiah Love. When I look at him, he's just an explosive playmaker. I think he has 32 runs of 10 yards plus. Effortless, gets the top speed so quick, slippery too for a guy who's he's 215 pounds. We had a running back go last year in Alshon Dente at 6. If I were to say, hey, is he going to plus or minus that? Is he competing? If Dente can go 6, or the teams learn maybe you don't take a running back that high, you see him in the top 10, you have him at 3rd, but that's positional value comes into play. Could he match Gente's draft slot at 6?
I think it's well within the realm of possibility, and I definitely think he's going to be a top 10 pick. He's too talented not to be. And we have this conversation every year, but you look around the league, like, Saquon Barkley at number 2 overall. I know it didn't end up sticking with the Giants, but certainly I don't think the Giants regret making that pick. Right? They should have kept him is what they should have done. The Detroit Lions, they got a lot of flack for Jahmyr Gibbs. They certainly do not regret that decision right now. Even the Atlanta Falcons, they're not winning a lot of games currently, but I don't think that's a Bijan Robinson problem, right? Like, I think Bijan has lived up to the draft status as well. With Ginty, that's the Raider. It's the Raiders' fault when I look at that and say, hey, were they ready to take him? You look at how that offensive line is performing right now. It's 10 sacks yesterday to the Cleveland Browns. They weren't ready to take him because they didn't have things sorted out up front. So certainly that's got to be part of the conversation. It's not just the positional value when taking a running back that high. Do I at least have him set up for immediate success? I think that's the more important question you have to ask yourself when you're taking a running back that highly. The Detroit Lions, they had Jahmyr Gibbs set up for immediate success because they had that offensive line figured out. The Raiders do not when it comes to I feel bad for Ginty. He's getting all this flack. He doesn't stand a chance. I've watched a lot of Raiders ball this year. He's getting hit in the backfield every time he touches it. So for me, the conversation comes down to, are you ready to take a running back early, to take one that highly? And for me, if you are ready to take Jeremiah Love in the top 10, top 6, top 7, I wouldn't have any reservations.
How do you compare him coming out to Ginty? What do you have him tier-wise around this?
Look, hindsight's 2020. I love Ginty coming out, so I'm not going to dog him. Similar in the sense where I think he's a 3-down back. He's a guy who can play the game at an incredibly high level. You've just got to be ready for him.
Yeah, I agree. Going down, let's start your first quarterback at 4. Let's get into the quarterbacks. First of all, you don't have Dante Moore on the list. Explain, before we get into Mendoza, where would Dante Moore be on the list if he decides to come out? Explain why you don't have him on here, and how would you have him kind of ranked with Mendoza and you have Simpson? Just 2 quarterbacks in the top 25.
Yeah, there have been some questions and reports regarding whether or not Dante Moore is going to come out. I've decided to kind of take a cautious approach for now. It was Todd McShay, I think, who was obviously very well connected, been in the NFL draft space for a very long time, that initially reported that he believes Dante Moore is going to return to school. I'm just waiting to get a bit more clarity on the situation. Of course, he would be in my top 25 if I felt better about him declaring. And for me, where would he be? He'd be in the top 10, certainly. I would probably right now put him in at number 8, just looking at this list initially. He would be my quarterback 3. I'm very high on both Mendoza and Simpson right now, who I realize, they also have remaining eligibility, but I'm a lot more confident in what I think their intentions are going to be at the end of the year than I am with Dante Moore. So he would slide in at quarterback 3 right now, probably at number 8, right in front of Delane, the corner out of LSU, right behind Carnell Tate, the receiver out of Ohio State. I really like what I'm seeing from Dante Moore on tape. I think he's got franchise quarterback potential. I just feel a bit better right now on my evaluations on Mendoza and Simpson. They're really, really impressive, and it's pretty much every single week. I think there's been a little bit more variance with Dante Moore's tape. There's been some good and some bad, especially in some of those big matchup opportunities. One or two he's shown up in, and maybe there was 1 or 2 that he didn't quite have his best performance. With Mendoza, just the pre-snap, the accuracy, what he's doing in Indiana right now is so impressive. And then with Ty Simpson, for him being a first-year starter, he's beyond his years from a pre- and post-snap recognition. He's got so much control at the line of scrimmage. He's making the checks. He's making all the adjustments necessary. He's checking in and out of plays based on what he sees pre-snap. He's incredibly accurate. Obviously, a bit of a setback last weekend with that unforeseen loss, and he wasn't great in that game. I think that was the first time that he's really since week 1, the first time that he's faced adversity this season, in my opinion. But I'm incredibly high on both these quarterbacks. I know you didn't ask this question, but I'll say it right now. I'll be stunned if quarterbacks don't go 1-2 in this draft. I don't, assuming at least two of these guys declare, and I think they will, I'm having a hard time seeing any scenario where quarterbacks don't go 1-2 in April.
Yeah, I agree. I got a couple quarterbacks I love. Here's the thing. My quarterback number one right now, I'm not married to it. I do more diving in. I watch, I get into some tape when I have time because I'm doing the show. And then in January, I really get into it. I like what I've seen out of Simpson, man. He to me, his intelligence, his execution, his command of the huddle, the degree of his pre-snap ability and intelligence is what really in the ball placement. He doesn't have elite traits. They're not elite. The arm strength and the size is good. Arm is good. But his mechanics, and I think if the Dolphins keep McDaniel, you would probably agree. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be picking the top three, but I think Ty Simpson would be the best match, right? If you look bringing it back home here.
Oh, he'd be an outstanding fit in that McDaniel. I mean, he'd be an outstanding. And any NFL head coach, and I think the world of Coach McDaniel from an offensive scheme perspective, like any coach like that loves to get their hands on a guy like Ty. Like you look at what Kyle Shanahan has done with Brock Purdy and Mac Jones this year. You look at what Sean McVay's been doing for years. You look at some of the way. Oh, wow, this comment here, it really throws me for a loop. I'll tell you right now. If Ty Simpson declares, he's going to go incredibly early, top three, and I'll be and George, I almost had him at quarterback one, ahead of Mendoza, because I'll tell you right now what NFL scouts are going to say. A lot of times I don't want prisoners of the moment. I think Mendoza is the better quarterback right now, but with Ty Simpson being a first-year starter. What he's doing, despite the inexperience, a lot of front offices, coaching staffs, they're going to say, who's the better quarterback 3 years from now? And I think a lot of them are going to say that Ty Simpson is going to be the better quarterback 3 years from now. Because the pre-snap, the ball placement, the execution, for a guy who has started 10 games, whatever it is, in his NFL, in his college career, the sky's the limit for him. So again, I don't see any scenario where quarterbacks do not go 1-2 in this draft.
Yeah, the thing with there's a lot of helmet scouting with him. The whole Bama quarterback that comes with it. I don't know if the Dolphins could take another Bama quarterback to be honest, but it does worry me. The 1 year, it does worry me. It has me hesitant of me putting him clearly number one. But like Mendoza, I see some Jared Goff in, maybe a little bit more athletic, but
yeah,
what he does well is he's got ice in his veins. Mendoza, I love that about him. I love the precision he throws with between levels. He throws the windows that sometimes you don't even see. And again, he's great against the blitz. That one hit he took, that kill shot he took, and still delivered a beautiful ball. I do worry about. I think he needs to add a little weight. Like I know he's big as far as height, but he needs to add a little weight. Good arm. I don't know if it's elite, but yeah, I like him. Dante Moore. What do you think of this comparison, Justin? Little C.J. Stroud in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's more athletic, probably, than C.J. Stroud. He can hurt you with his legs, I think, more than C.J. can. But I see what you're getting at there. And, back like when I look at the NFL draft order, the way it's setting up right now, and I just well, you didn't ask, but Titans and Giants at 1 and 2 currently, like they're trading out of those picks if they get 1 and 2, like almost certainly, right? Like they're not staying. Both those, they've got their franchise quarterbacks. They believe they do in Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. Need to rebuild those rosters around those guys. Like they're trading. And then it's setting up so nicely for like the Saints at 3, the Jets at 4, Vegas at 5, Cleveland at 6. 4 teams in a row that would love probably to get their hands on one of those quarterbacks. And I look at a team like the Dolphins that right now that's at number 10. Arizona at number 9 are sneaky. The Rams, who are at number 11, thanks to the trade with the Falcons, they've got 2 first. Like a ton of these teams, I think, are going to try to move up for those quarterbacks if it's the Titans and Giants at number 1 and 2. So for me, Mendoza, Simpson, they declare. I'll be stunned if they don't go 1-2.
If Moore doesn't come out as far as Dolphin fits, any guys you like who's your third or fourth quarter? Like I'll give you a guy, Hayden Green. To me, if he played at a bigger school, his athletic upside is tremendous. But any guys you like, if they decide to go maybe the second round in the quarterback, or just quickly on the quarterback, then we'll move on. Who's your number 3 if Moore doesn't come out? And kind of maybe a guy or two you like out of the first round?
I'm early in that process, but one guy who I think deserves a lot more buzz than he's currently getting, and we've done our best on the Draft Network to wake some folks up to him, is what's happening at Duke right now with Darian Mensah, the quarterback down there. He's got over 3,000 passing yards this year, 26 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I mean, why are we not talking more about what's happening with that Duke quarterback? They're not a terrific football team, I get it. But you look at the supporting cast, can you give me a receiver on Duke right now? Can you give me a running? Certainly not a team that set him up for the type of success that he's having right now. I think Mensah deserves 26 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. I mean, those are elite numbers. He's over 3,000 passing yards. This guy's a true pocket quarterback, right? He's not going to give you a ton with his legs, but I've been incredibly impressed with what I've seen on tape from Darian Mensah and Duke this season.
All right, rounding out your top 10, 2 kids, local kids down here. Quickly on the guard, Mawaga, I think is how you say it. I always butcher his name, and Ruben Bain Jr. Love them. The thing with Bain is what stands out with Ruben Bain is just his pure play strength. I mean, quick, powerful hands, the strength, the pass rush moves. Sometimes he overwhelms guys with his strength. He's a little, he's polarizing, right? Because the build is a little different, and what's his true position. But talk about Ruben Bain and then the guard, Moaga. Do you like him at right tackle, or do you see him more as a guard when you look at him as far as his, he's been a steady right tackle for the Hurricanes. Could he go inside the guard because of his strength and the kind of the short area quickness he has?
So I'm ready to plant my flag on Ruben Bain. I know there's been a lot of discourse, and there's going to be a lot of discourse leading up to April about this guy. The arm length is not going to measure in at a good number, right? He's got short-ish arms, which, by the way, TJ Watt, Nick Benito, Aiden Hutchinson, we've done this a lot in recent drafts with arm length, and we've been proven pretty stupid lately when we do it. A lot of these guys have been able to overcome that at a high level. I love the tape. I do. And honestly, if I didn't have Downs and Love, if I took positional value into account on this list, in all honesty, I'd put Ruben Bain at 2 or 3. They would certainly be ahead of Downs and Love. I don't have the reservations on Ruben Bain that everyone else seems to have, or a lot of people seem to have. The tape against Notre Dame this year, when I'm tracking the tape, I think I had him down for a pressure on every single pass rushing rep. When this guy's at his best, he's essentially unblockable. I am ready to put my reputation on the line, it feels like, for Ruben Bain. I think the world of him. I'm a Titans guy. If they traded down and got Ruben Bain, I would think the world of that. So the combination of power, speed, athleticism, I think he's almost the complete package. I know the yard length, the sack numbers maybe aren't what they should be. Maybe I'm wrong. I have incredibly little concern about his sack numbers, because when I watch the tape, he's just getting home almost all the time. There's just no way this guy's going to create this much pressure, and the sacks aren't going to come. So I'm a huge fan of Ruben Bain's. Francis Maigoa, the offensive lineman, I'm torn. I think he probably does end up kicking inside to guard. I like what I've seen at right tackle, but I do have some of the things you mentioned, some short area quickness concerns. And I think he's so incredibly powerful that you probably do better to maximize his skill set by moving him inside. Now, wherever he ends up, you have to have the positional value conversation, because I do think it's within the realm of possibility that he could succeed at right tackle and that he could stay out there. And maybe that's better for your football team, the one that he ends up with. I think once you get into the maximizing the skill set conversation and you want him to reach his true ceiling, I think that's probably likelier to happen at guard. But I'm certainly not writing him off at tackle. And I do think for the right team, it could work out there for him.
Yeah, I want to go to the wide receivers. You got, I believe, 6. If I'm correct, is it 6 in the top 25? I believe you do. But one thing the Dolphin fans are interested in is size at that position. Starting your first guy, Carnell Tate, the smooth, doesn't drop anything wide receiver. He's 6'3", I believe over 200, almost 200 pounds. It's kind of a glider, man. When you he doesn't look as fast, but because the way he runs, but his hands are natural. He's got great body control. You know, I love a lot of things about him. Another guy with size, you got Jordan Tyson, 6'2". And Chris, I see you have Bell at 21, a little higher than most, and I like that. He's got some A.J. Brown in him. Talk about, and Denzel Boston is a guy I love at 6'4". So this has got, I like the size of this wide receiver position. Even if you go down like a Nick Harbor, you know, if you go, you know, maybe second, third round. Your thoughts on this wide receiver class and the size it brings? Because you got a bunch of big guys in the top 25.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good class, and I'll run through rapid fire because you hit some things on the head. I'm certainly not patting myself on the back, but I think I'm going to be early on the Carnell Tate as wide receiver 1 train. I think you see some lists out there that still has Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson, I believe it was Dane Brugler who said this on a recent podcast, has missed approximately 40% of his college career games due to injury. The medicals are going to be really big for Jordan Tyson. I like him, but I've got too much concern right now with his ability to stay healthy for him to be my wide receiver 1. I'm infatuated with Carnell Tate. I mean, the size, the athleticism, the speed. It's not just the body control, the contested catch ability. That stuff is obviously present with his size, but I think he's a really good route runner and a good separator for that size. I have no questions or concerns about his ability to create separation. I'm infatuated with him as a prospect. I really am. He'll be my wide receiver 1 the entire way. I will not come off that hill. Carnell Tate will be a top 10 player for me, and he'll be the top receiver in this class for me. A couple of the other guys, you know, Casey Conception, who you didn't mention, he's just so unbelievably dynamic and explosive. And there are some size questions with him, but one of the reasons I'm incredibly comfortable with him, despite maybe some of those deficiencies, is that you watch him on tape, he separates from man coverage, no problem. There are a ton of reps on tape this year where he just gets away from man coverage. I love to see that. It really eases my mind, you know, when I'm planting my flag on a guy who maybe doesn't have the desired size you prefer out of a receiver prospect if you built one in a lab. But the ability to separate from man, the dynamic, explosive, yards after catch, like I'm infatuated with Casey Conception as well. You talk about Chris Bell out of Louisville. I love that you said A.J. Brown, because to me, I do get a lot of that out of his game. If you want to take a more cautious approach, and look, Treylon Burks could have worked out at the next level. Injuries derailed him a lot. But I also get him. If you remember when A.J. Brown coming out of Ole Miss, he went in the second round. People had a lot of reservations, and the reservations were a lot similar to what they said about Treylon Burks. So you get one success story there, and you get one bust. But both of them, where the reservations are, it's like he doesn't run a complete route tree. It's a lot of slants. It's a lot of goes. Like there's just a lot of simple stuff on the route tree right now. But he's so physical as a route runner, and he's so physical in the open field with the ball in his hand. So, you know, don't worry when I say Treylon Burks, because you also say A.J. Brown. I believe both of those are fair comparisons.
Right? Yeah, if we're going ceiling-wise, if we're dreaming on them. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I think it's well within the realm of possibility that I love watching him, how physical he is on tape. You're going to have to expand that route tree probably at the next level. That's where the question is. And Denzel Boston at 25, I'll tell you right now, he's going to fall out of my 25 when I add a couple of those other guys. Those bottom 3, the tackle out of Utah, TJ Parker and Denzel Boston, probably won't end up being top 25 guys for me. You know, the question I have on Denzel Boston, and I say this every year on these types of receivers, is he T. Higgins or is he Keon Coleman, N'Keal Harry? He's got great body control. He's got 8 touchdowns this year. He's a red zone threat. He's a vertical threat. One-on-one, what I love to say about guys like this, a 50-50 ball for Denzel Boston feels like a 75-25 ball for Denzel Boston, right? Like
that's going
to come down with it more often than not. I do have, you know, as I said this about Carnell Tate earlier, it's the opposite for me with Denzel Boston. I do have questions about his ability to separate from man coverage. I want the testing numbers on him. Is it 4.55, you know, which I could live with at that size, or is it 4.63, 4.64? You know, like we're going to have to get the numbers on Denzel Boston and get more clarity. But you know, certainly I love the contested catch, the vertical, the one-on-one, the body control, all that stuff, high pointing the football. but can he consistently create separation? I've got a question there.
Yeah. Just a few more questions. I know you got to get out of here soon, but I want to talk about bringing to the Dolphins on this board. They're obviously won a few games in a row at the beginning of the season. Dolphin fans thinking, are we going to have a top 5 pick? They could be in that 11 to 16 range. The tight end, Sadiq, is a guy. They need a tight end like this. First of all, how do you see him as a prospect? And I know Dolphin fans wanted Tyler Warren last year. How do you compare him to the Warrens and the Lovelands of last year? And would you have any hesitation pulling the trigger between, in the middle of as high as 10 or 11?
I think Warren was more dynamic probably, but don't get me wrong. I love Kenyon Sadiq as a prospect. I've got him at number 18. I almost had him. He was in that 16 to 18 range. Those 3 players right there, C.J. Allen, Lemon, and Sadiq for me were really close. You could honestly, you could change that order around how you see fit, and I wouldn't complain one bit. What I love about Sadiq is he's an all-around tight end. Like, this guy's not just a dynamic, explosive, athletic pass catcher, but he's really good in line too. He's an outstanding blocker, a better blocker than Tyler Warren is, in my opinion, certainly. I do think Warren's probably a bit more dynamic as a pass catcher. 10 or 11 might be a little rich for me with a tight end, generally speaking. But, if the Dolphins are in that 12 to 16 range, I think I start to feel better. Even, 14, 15, I start to feel a lot. I don't think I could go number 10 because I think the Dolphins have needs, across the maybe not across the board, but, they trade one of their edge rushers. I look at a guy like Keldrick Falk and David Bailey I'd probably take before the tight end. I think wide receiver, depending on what happens with Tyreek Hill. Jordan Tyson, if he's there, a Carnell Tate. Maybe I'm higher on Tate. If Tate is there, I think the Dolphins think strongly about a receiver. And I'm not quite ready to rule out a quarterback just yet. I think the Dolphins are one of those sneaky teams. They're going to have a new GM. The GM is going to make that decision on the quarterback, right? Like he's going to inherit Tua from the previous regime. Never underrate the possibility of the GM wanting to go get his own quarterback. So they're one of those teams that could trade up, or if the quarterback is if Dante Moore comes out and you've got 3 quarterbacks in the top 10, maybe they don't have to trade up all the way to the top. Maybe it's 6, 7. It's the 5, 6, 7 spot. So for me, the offensive line is, I think, also still a work in progress. If they're picking at 16, maybe it's a Maigoa, maybe it's a Spencer Fano, right? Like, there's so many directions, and there's so much we don't know about the Dolphins because we don't know who the GM is. That there's so many directions they could go. Even at cornerback, if it's at 15 overall, I think corner's a weakness they didn't fully address last offseason. And there's a couple that I like in Delane and Terrell. So it's so hard to predict where the Dolphins are going to go right now.
Yeah. You mentioned the needs they have. It's a list. Interior offensive line, tight end, quarterback, big receiver, edge rusher. And you got a bunch on your list. On this list, who are some guys that you could see rising? Who's somebody we haven't talked about on this list that you say, I want to talk about this guy. I can see him moving up or higher on this list by the time we get to April?
Yeah, I think the one, if I'm going to go higher, although I probably think I got him roughly appropriately slotted, is Amari Washington, the D tackle out of Oregon. When I watched 330 pounds.
Well, we got one. We got one last year.
Right, you know what he's like. But in terms of not Dolphins related, in terms of a guy that deserves love on this list and could rise, I like Washington quite a bit. He's great against the run, but he's also pretty good against the pass for a 330-pounder, right? Like, definitely got some Kenneth Grant vibes in the sense of he can just the explosiveness, the first step, the get off at that size is really impressive. There are some areas where he's got to improve. I think occasionally he lets his pads get too high. He exposes his chest. And look, when you do that, doesn't matter if you're 330 pounds or you're 210 pounds. You're going to lose that battle sometimes, right? When you're exposing your chest, playing with that high pad level, losing the leverage battle. He's got to get more consistent in that area. But the splash plays on tape, dominant against double teams, great against the run, affects the quarterback. He's not a nose tackle. He's not a two-down guy. He is incredibly effective against the pass as well. So when I look at this list, it's only a top 25, so I imagine if you're a college ball fan, you're familiar with a lot of them. if there's one guy that I think deserves more love, it's probably that D tackle out of Oregon.
Yeah. We're with Justin Melo. We're wrapping things up here with Justin Melo, dropping his top 25 board. You mentioned Kenneth Grant. Dolphins rookie class coming on lately. Grant's coming on. Slow start for Savianaya. What are your thoughts on those guys and your thoughts on them coming out and kind of a little bit? I know you haven't followed as much Miami Dolphin football, but your kind of thought, and Jordan Phillips, who's been fantastic this year.
Well, look, I think they're coming along, right? Like Grant, it's a tough position to be thrown into, and you're being asked to anchor that line, at least up the middle, in my opinion, based on some of the other moves they had made in recent years. He's looked a lot better in recent weeks. And then with Savianaya, like, look, you got to be like switching positions in the NFL. Number one is an offensive lineman. Number two, a good buddy of mine is currently in the NFL agency world, actually played offensive line in the NFL. He says to me all the time, I'll never, as a rookie offensive lineman, you're just trying to tread water. You're kind of stunned by how good these NFL defensive linemen are, how quick, how fast, how powerful, strong, all of the above that they are. And then you add a positional switch to it. He's playing left guard for the Dolphins. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes. He's next to a young left tackle in Patrick Paul. I mean, like, these guys, they're going to have to go through the learning curve. Like, you love pairing one of those guys up with a veteran that they could lean on. Instead, in Miami, it's not the ideal situation, but they're both good football players. It's trial by fire. They're both young guys trying to figure out, and they're playing next to each other. So they're asked to execute combo blocks. They're asked to have good communication. They're asked to pick up stunts, twist games, all that stuff. It's just a tough spot to be in, and there's going to be some good and some bad that comes with that. I thought Savianaya was, a good prospect, incredibly powerful. I thought they made the right decision to kick him inside. I didn't think he had what it takes to continue playing offensive tackle at the next level. Just be patient, Dolphins fans. I know it's tough when you're losing and things aren't going well, and you want to hold everyone accountable. I know what the Titans are 1-10. I go through that every single week, so I know what that's like. But with this young offensive lineman, switching positions, playing next to another young tackle, playing against NFL D linemen. Like, there's so many challenges that have been thrown his way this season. Just be patient. I think he'll get there, and I think you've seen the strides on a week-by-week basis.
Yeah. Phillips has probably been their best rookie. You said we talked backstage.
Oh, I mean,
you loved him.
I love Jordan Phillips coming out of Maryland. I thought that was a steal for the Dolphins. I think I said that on this show when I came on last time. So I'm glad to see and to hear that he's doing well, because I thought they got a good, useful, at the very least, rotational deal. I mean, the amount of raw power and strength in his skill set, it was eye-popping at Maryland. It's been eye-popping in Miami as well so far. So I think this class could end up being a very positive one for the Dolphins still. Just give them some time to fully get there.
Well, I appreciate you, Justin. I apologize. I didn't realize how long we went over. I apologize. On your way, I'd be remiss not to ask you the local Cam Ward, the UM kid. We actually had Jackson Slater on the show too. But Cam Ward, how's he looked as a rookie? You've covered him closely with the Titans there. How's he progressing?
I think Cam Ward has been as advertised. If you're box score scouting, you're going to miss the point. The Titans have not put him in a good situation this year. He's on his second head coach, second play caller of the year. His number one receiver's got a season-ending injury. They've got no run game to speak of. They've been inconsistent on the offensive line. They're not writing the handbook on how to support a rookie quarterback right now. Yesterday, he was, I'm not afraid to use the word, elite. Cam Ward was elite against a top 5 EPA defense, the Seattle Seahawks. He's getting better every single week. Your franchise quarterback vibes. The Titans, the front office that drafted him, they could not be happier with what they're getting out of Cam Ward right now. If you're a UM supporter and you're rooting for him, don't worry about it. Don't look at the stats. Don't say, hey, the Titans are 1-10. Cam Ward is looking every bit of a franchise quarterback for the Titans. You wait until they get a real coaching staff in there next year, because guys are going to line up, I think, to take that Titans job next year. To know that you're inheriting a Cam Ward at quarterback and probably the number 1 overall pick that you're going to trade down and get a ton of picks for, and they're scheduled to have $110 million in cap space. This is a good situation, the way it's setting up for the future. I think Cam Ward, by year 2, year 3, there will be zero doubt remaining that he's a franchise quarterback and that kid out of deserves to go number 1 overall.
All right, I appreciate the time, Justin. plug the Draft Network. What you got coming up? What articles or what do you got covering with the Draft Network here?
DraftNetwork.com. We've got a new mock draft that drops every Sunday at halftime of the Sunday night football game.
Awesome.
The people are loving that. You're responding so well to it on Twitter and social media and things of that nature. We've got a mock draft machine. Take it for a spin. All 7 rounds, more than 300 players available to draft. I'm confident when I say it's the best mock draft machine in the market. We've got a brand new top 100. We updated very recently our top 100 prospects, overseen by our in-house scouting director, Keith Sanchez, who won a national championship at LSU. We've got a great scouting director overseeing our scouting department at the Draft Network. He was on that coaching staff when they had Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson. I'm going to give him all the credit in the world for that team. Joe Burrow's not Joe Burrow without Keith. I'm kidding, obviously, but Keith Sanchez does phenomenal work. He was on that staff. We're very lucky to have him in our scouting department. Head over to the draftnetwork.com. We've got you covered for literally everything you need from an NFL draft perspective.
Justin, thank you. Thank you for the extra time. I owe you something. So we'll definitely connect as we get to this draft coverage gets closer. We appreciate it. Have a happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays. On the way out, we've been asking everybody, give me your top 3 Thanksgiving sides, and is Die Hard a Christmas movie, Justin?
Oh, Die Hard absolutely is a Christmas movie. There's no doubt about it. Now,
Sardi's going to be happy.
You might forget this. I'm actually Canadian, so okay. I had my Thanksgiving a month ago, but I love the way you guys do Thanksgiving. And listen, mac and cheese is an elite Thanksgiving side. If it was on the top 25 board, mac and cheese would be top 5 on my top 25 board right now. I'm a big mac and cheese guy. I'm a big Thanksgiving stuffing guy. I love stuffing. I don't know how you feel about it, but mac and cheese is elite. You cannot have a proper Thanksgiving meal without mac and cheese. I got a lot up there, but I like collard greens. I love stuffing. But I'll tell you what, maybe my hottest take, you can never have too many sides at Thanksgiving. So don't limit yourselves. Enjoy this weekend. It's all about the sides for me. You guys eat as much as you can. I'm going to be partaking in spirit with you. Enjoy all the mac and cheese you can.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I forgot that you were from Canada, but I hope you enjoyed yours, and I hope you enjoy it again.
It's a good excuse for me to have 2 Thanksgivings. It's a great reason. Happy holidays to all my American friends. Enjoy Thanksgiving football. Yeah. Enjoy all the sides. Enjoy the ball this weekend. Be safe if you're traveling, and happy Thanksgiving.
Justin, thank you so much, man. Let's do it again sometime. I appreciate it. And everybody go follow Justin at the Draft Network and all the great stuff going on. Thank you, Justin.
Pleasure is all mine. You know where to find me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Enjoy. Have a great rest of the week. All right, that was Justin Melo from the Draft Network. I just wanted to kind of, wrap up today's episode here and give a huge thank you to Justin for coming on and dropping that incredible insight, and, of course, delivering his top 25 prospects early of the 26th round. The 26th draft, the breakdown was loaded. If you missed anything, make sure you go back and check it out. There's a ton of value in there for Dolphin and draft fans, not only for Dolphin fans. And, of course, Fins Faithful, we're going to have you covered all draft season. We just wanted to give you an early look at what's coming. But before we head out, we got a massive week coming up on the channel. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, we've got a huge Miami Dolphins State of the Franchise episode with special guest Dougley Durong. Yes, Dougley Durong will be joining us tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss his takes. You do not want to miss that one. And Wednesday night, we're dropping our Thanksgiving special. My co-host Jason Sarney, myself, and kind of whoever else pops in. It's going to be a fun show the night before Thanksgiving. Fun questions. We'll obviously mix in some Dolphins talk, and we'll have all-around good times. Kind of perfect way to kind of kick off the holiday vibes in this Thanksgiving week starting. No problem because I'm late. No problem you're late. We didn't get much into Kendrick Falk. Next time we have on, when we get more draft stuff, we'll get into Kendrick Falk. I like him as an edge rusher. I think he's a guy Dolphins could be looking at 10 to 16 range. Mashed potatoes, stuffing, mac and cheese for the sides. Don't worry, man. You're late. Check the replay. Tons of stuff. Dolphin fans, but draft fans especially. Bunch of breakdown. He dropped his exclusive top 25, Justin Melo from the Draft Network. on the show. So we appreciate it, guys. Appreciate you guys in this impromptu lunch special. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe. It's a little bell. It takes a second. And not only subscribe, turn on the notifications so it tells you when we go live. You don't miss any of the great content we got coming up. So hit that like button, subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, share the broadcast, and make sure you catch the replay because that top 25 was a bunch of good info to get you started. And also maybe if you're watching college football, who to keep your eye on. Some guys that maybe fit the Dolphins or whatever team you root for. We appreciate it, guys. Tomorrow, again, 2 p.m. Eastern, Dougly Do-Wrong, massive show, mega show, Dolphins State of the Franchise. Until next time, guys, fins up. Have a safe rest of the day. We are